here. I love it. Everyone can hear me. I do love not just talking to myself. So we'll go do a quick intro. We have several staff members online here, and then we will get right into it. I am going to put our email addresses in the chat so that if you have questions, you want to follow up afterwards, you certainly can. Madison, if you wouldn't mind popping the my career and then each of our individual ones in the chat, that would be really helpful. My name is Kelly Coughlin. I am the Senior Career Manager at the Costello College of Business Office of Career Services. I meet with folks one-on-one to go over everything from resumes, cover letters, internship search strategies, job search strategies. We see a lot of students who are, especially at this time of year, looking for jobs and internships, particularly for the summer, maybe the fall. So please stop by our office. We can do appointments in person. We can do them virtually. We have workshops coming up, a couple more before the end of the semester. And we also have a free headshot session coming up. If you need a professional headshot taken for your handshake or your LinkedIn, you can do that as well. So we will put that date, the next headshot date, in the chat here shortly. So that is a little bit about me. Madison, Caleb, and I think Sierra is joining us, and Hamaja. If you want to, one of you want to chime in next and introduce yourself, that would be great.
I can go next. Hi, everybody. My name is Madison Height. I'm a career advisor here in the Costello College of Business Office of Career Services. I'm really excited to be co-presenting this workshop for you tonight, and I know we'll have a great panel discussion as well. I very recently went through the job search, not as an international student, but I still get how stressful it can be. So hopefully we can provide you with some really good tools after the workshop tonight so that you are ready to go on your own job search.
Thank you, Madison. Hello, everyone. This is Himaja. I am a current MSBA student, and I'm working part-time as a project management intern at the Career Services Office. So I'm pretty much in you guys' shoes. And I'm going to lead the panel discussion today. And I hope you guys learn something from this discussion.
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
Hi, everyone. I'll go next, Kelly. My name is Caleb Lewis. I am the Director of Career Services for Costello College of Business. For our international students, I also tend to serve for undergrad students as your main point of contact for your CPT and OPT authorization. So after you meet with our wonderful staff over at OIPS, part of your application will require a program manager or academic dean to sign off on that. And I actually am the one that signs off on all of our undergrad CPT and OPT application forms. And then I also teach our internship for credit courses, which you would also be required to take as an international student working off campus for CPT.
All right. Thanks, Caleb. And then Sierra.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Sierra McCarroll. I'm the Experiential Learning Manager for our Career Services Office. So I work alongside all these lovely people here. A lot of the work that I do is the common, right? Helping with resumes, cover letters, meeting with you all about the job search process. But I do work a lot with the approvals of our internship for academic credit opportunity, where you can get academic credit for maybe your job or an internship that you're working. So I'm super excited to be here today, and I really hope, and I know that you all will learn a lot from today's session.
Okay, thanks everybody. So just a kind of a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. I have a quick PowerPoint we're going to go through in the next 25 minutes. Where we will be talking about what are the best job search strategies, what are the best websites we can find some international student-friendly companies who we should be targeting. And the second half of that will focus more on the networking side of things and how we can kind of get our foot in the door with a lot of these companies, which will be very helpful. And then the second half, as Maja mentioned, we will have some really great panelists, people who have been there and done it and have some advice for you. So let me see if I can get my screen to cooperate here, and we will be rocking and rolling here. 1 second. Here we are. Okay. Can everybody see this? Assuming yes.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Because Blackboard just disappeared for me, so I can't see chats or anything like that. So if somebody else could monitor the chat, that would be very helpful. So let's get into it here. This is the International Student Career Search Workshop or ProfessionalQuest. Here's what our goals are. We're going to explore the most useful job boards, as I just mentioned, for discovering opportunities specifically suited for international students. We're going to understand the importance of networking and learn some techniques and strategies we can use to network effectively, and then develop strategies, as I just said, for conducting a job search tailored to the needs of international students. So what are the mysterious, the best job search sites for international students? So I'm sure some of you are very familiar with Handshake. I will go into each of these in more detail, so this will not be the only time you see this information. And afterwards, we actually have a really great resource that lists all the resources that we're going to talk about tonight, and we will bring that up at the end as well with a QR code of how you can join in on that
Kelly,
group to see
the slides are not advancing for everyone.
Oh, not. Okay. Let me. That's very strange. 1 second. Thank you for letting me know that before I got into slide 15. Let's do it this way. I'm going to upload it into our files here, and I bet you that will work a little better. Hang tight.
And we do have a question in the chat. Will we be covering work visas for international students by any chance? And yes, we will be covering kind of the standard work visa process, but we'll also be covering a little bit about CPT and OPT in this session.
So just hang tight for a second. This is, I would like to see, oh, here we go. Let me share this. If you could also post in the chat how many of you have used Handshake or one of these sites in your search so far. Anyone? Use Handshake, beautiful. That is one of the friendlier ones. It has a really nice filter on that for international student opportunities. Okay. So let's go into the nitty gritty on these. Here's Handshake. Used Handshake. Okay, I can see that now. First thing we want to do, we want to register. Of course, you would want to stop by our office, right, to make sure that that resume looks fabulous. Make sure you have all uploaded documents. I just met with somebody earlier today whose profile is only 15% complete, and of course, that would not get noticed very well by employers. So we want to make sure we have all that wonderful coursework and projects and previous jobs and all that experience, even if it's volunteer, on that profile on Handshake, okay? So we can use the search feature on here. We can use more filters, which will get us to where we can find those international student-friendly job postings. And then also I want to make sure you are aware of the events, which you can see on the left side. It's right under jobs. Those are employer-sponsored events, so recruiters are trying to meet you, and you can find those events there. And of course, more get added every single day, as well as jobs. So make sure you're checking regularly, and then you can even contact recruiters on some of those job postings. So let's check this out. So on Handshake, if you're not familiar with the filters, this kind of walks you through them. You know, we can look at the top and see if we're looking for an internship, full-time work, part-time work. Do we want to get paid? Of course, yes. And then on the bottom here, you can see hires international students as an option. And then over on the right side, you see at the bottom there the work authorization. So it could be jobs that don't require US authorization, jobs that are open to CPT and OPT. So that gives you kind of a nice filter there. Okay. You can research the company, recruiters, staff, other students. So this is a job I pulled up a little while back. So this is a job for a data analyst, and you can see the company name right under it, IQ Log Inc. And if we click on the company name, you can actually see, here's the company's name, here's their address, but look on the right, you can see in the email the actual recruiter's contact information. So that would be really helpful. So when you are looking for jobs, we want to make sure that we are reaching out to the recruiter, letting them know we saw that job posting on Handshake, what specific job it was, of course, because the company might have 15 jobs posted, and then follow up with them and just try to get our foot in the door that way, okay? Okay, and then the other thing we can see when we pull up that employer screen is if there's a public staff list down on the right, you can see there's another HR recruiter we can get in contact, as well as students who have worked there previously, and you can message them directly through the platform and see what their experience was like. Okay. And as I mentioned before, you definitely want to be aware of the events tab there on the left so that you can meet these recruiters who are trying to meet you. And most of the events are actually virtual. They're not in person, so they shouldn't be super hard to fit into your schedule. Okay, another resource is Interstride. Has anybody used Interstride? Go ahead and post in the chat if you have. No, never heard of it? Maybe? All right, that's fine. That's what this workshop's about. So Interstride is a really great resource at George Mason, and this is for not just international students, but if you're looking for international opportunities as well. And there's some great filters on this platform. So, and there it is posted in our chat. Thank you, Madison. So let's go through how this works. So this was on the left side, this is what you get when you log into the platform. And then over on the right, if you see the part I've highlighted at the top there where it says search jobs, you want to click on that because when you click on this search jobs, then you get all these nice filters to appear that you see on the left. Okay. And what I did find, you can see the filters. One of it is you could find companies that sponsored last year, which is pretty fabulous. And if I want to go back here, I just want to show you. Yeah, you can see it on this page too. The top 500 H-1B companies, top 1,000. CAP exempt, if those for you who aren't familiar, this is for higher ed and nonprofits. So they are exempt from that cap. I think there was, what, 65,000 H-1B visas in the nation last year available. And this cap exempt, as it obviously states, higher ed and nonprofits are exempt from that cap, so that can be useful. The other thing though I found on here with the, you can put in the state. I'm looking on that left side again. It is better to put in the state because the city is so specific. So if I put in Fairfax, it comes up with 0 results. But there's jobs in Herndon, and there's jobs in McLean, and there's jobs in all these surrounding areas. So I just kind of left it at Virginia when I did my search, and then it would pop up with opportunities that were available kind of all over Virginia, and I just popped through them that way. Okay. Oh, and that's my dog barking in the background. All right, next screen here. The other kind of cool feature on Interstride, if you look at the top part next to jobs that I've highlighted there, is you can network. I just clicked on the network link here, and here were people, and it tells you kind of what their focus is. We got management information systems and computer science. So these are other individuals that you can network with around the states. And as I mentioned, we are going to get into networking more heavily a little bit later. Career Shift is another one that you have free access to through Mason. This is a pretty cool job database because it pulls from companies directly. And so instead of going to Indeed and then going to Monster and then going to KPMG and then going to kind of all these individual company or organization pages, it is pulling everything together. So let's see if we have here. This is what you get when you pull up, when you log in. And let's go one more. Here is when you pull up the job search feature on the bottom. See, it's of course super small writing, but if you can see this on your end, it says check to filter H-1B visa sponsorships. And then what's really cool is right next to it, it says find H-1B sponsorship companies, and it can give you a nice list, and that's what I had clicked on here. So here's some companies, and it even shows you how many and the average salary and all this good stuff. So there's some really good information there. So here, this is kind of what pops up when you get some jobs. I think I did a search for business analyst, some sort of analyst position, but you can see H-1B sponsorship. This one specifically says no H-1B candidates, but this third one does. So that's what you're going to find when you actually do that search part. And then this one is very cool. myvisajobs.com, not affiliated with George Mason in any way, but really helpful. And I think Madison has everything posted in that chat. If you want to click on these and play with them yourself, that would be fine. There's a lot of good features in here. At the top, it says employers, H-1B visa. So trending categories, explore occupations with the most opportunities for applicants requiring visa sponsorship in the last 12 months. So this is kind of a really cool thing. And I know we're of course business school, so accounting and finance fits in there nicely, and you can get more information that way. And then this was another great link that popped up. This explains kind of what the overview is and the qualifications. And then over here, you can see on the right lower side there, top 200 H-1B visa employers. And then you can break it down by employers by job title, occupation, industry. And here's that top 200 and what that looks like and their average salary. So just a lot of great information. Of course, this is not the whole list. It's pages and pages, but this just gives you kind of an idea of what that looks like. Okay, Madison, if you want to take this away.
Absolutely. So now we're going to enter the networking portion of this workshop. Networking is going to be the second half of it because networking is equally as important as applying to the jobs. So as you can see here, 85% of jobs are found through networking. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why this is super important. And the first being, people are more likely to, have an investment in your professional development if they know you. And also networking just makes more people aware of your job search and know what you're looking for. So networking can uncover this hidden market of jobs and opportunities because you might run into an opportunity that isn't necessarily posted on any website or job board. Personally, I had 3 internships when I was a student, and 2 out of those 3 were found just by reaching out and asking. So never underestimate the value of networking. It is a great return on investment because most of it's free. Doesn't take a lot of time to reach out to people, but the impact of that, message or connection request can be huge. So you're increasing your odds from 1 to 80% for opportunities and offering your services. So let's take a look at this quote here. If someone introduces you and or attends an introductory meeting or call, the chance of closing the business deal or getting the job is 80%. Similar chances through a cold call are 1%. So that just goes to show that by reaching out and actually establishing a professional relationship with somebody is going to have a huge ROI. There are so many networking opportunities available to you as a Mason student. Obviously, we have LinkedIn. Primary purpose is a networking site. Handshake, which we just mentioned, you can reach out to employers, you can reach out to other students. InnerStride, again, we saw that networking page. Employer events and career fairs. There are career fairs happening throughout the school year. And employers come to campus all the time and host those virtual events via Handshake as well. Getting involved with business student organizations on campus is a great way to network not only with your peers, but the professors who might be involved with those student organizations. Mason Mentors is our own sort of mini LinkedIn, and that's a really great place to start out if you're a little bit nervous maybe about networking. Alumni sign up for that because they want to help current students. So that's a really nice place to start. We also have industry specific networking groups on there that can be a really great resource. Alumni groups once you've graduated, professors and peers. Your professors are a wealth of knowledge to you. They are experts in their industry. So, utilize your professors as resources. Social media platforms, really the possibilities are endless when it comes to networking opportunities. I mentioned those student groups. Here's a list of the ones that are available to you. There's really one for every industry, so highly suggest getting involved, not only for the networking opportunities, but for the leadership opportunities as well. I mentioned LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. We've already established that you are more likely to get a job via networking, and LinkedIn can connect you to contacts at specific companies and also other Mason grads. So Mason graduates make up a very large percentage of the workforce in the surrounding area. So that's something you can really leverage when it comes to your job search. There are 30 million companies listed, 20 million open job listings, 100 million job applications submitted each month, and more than 95% of recruiters use LinkedIn regularly. So if you haven't created your LinkedIn profile, now would be the time to do it. Now, it's really important that your profile is 100% filled out before you start reaching out to people to network with. Once it's out there, every employer in the world can see it. So make sure that you are prepared on how you want to introduce yourself. That would be your personal pitch. Do your research on the individual you want to reach out to, their organization, the company, current job openings, if any, and be updated on their own company news or anything in common you might have with the person that you want to network with, so that you can start establishing that rapport and that relationship, and hopefully that person can be a point of knowledge for you in the industry you're interested in. Join groups, and you can even get recommended on LinkedIn, which is really neat. So that's a profile section you can add and request for a past coworker or a classmate that you worked closely with on a group project to actually write you a recommendation that goes straight onto your LinkedIn profile. I mentioned that we might want to leverage Mason's alumni network in the job search. So if you actually go to George Mason University Costello College of Business's page, you can go to that alumni tab where that yellow arrow is pointing. And once you click on that, you're going to see something like this. So this is going to pull up where all the alumni are located, where they work, what they do, what they studied, top skills, and then how you're connected. So third, when you see third next to somebody's name, that means that you are not connected at all. Second means that you have a connection in common, so that person could introduce you to the person you want to talk to, and first means you are connected. Important to note that that search alumni by title, keyword, or company bar is going to be super useful in that search. So you can look up industry keywords, job titles you're interested in, and it's actually going to filter those alumni out and filter out those lists that we just walked through as well. So if you are specifically looking for business analyst roles and search that, it's going to pull up all alumni who currently work as a business analyst. Then it's going to show where do the people who currently work as business analysts live, where do they work, so what companies are hiring Mason students and alumni, what they do, what they studied, what they're skilled at. So that's going to filter depending on what you put into that search bar. So like I mentioned, we're going to search for job title, and then you can request that connection and make sure you're doing that on a computer and not your phone so that you can add a note to that connection request and use your in as the Mason common denominator to send that request. So, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm studying this at Mason, saw you're a Mason alumni, I'm really interested in the field you're working in. Do you have 15 minutes in the next 2 weeks to connect? It's as simple as that. The worst thing that somebody will say is no, or they will not reply, and then you move on and reach out to the next person. So make sure that you are following up with them, actually have that meeting, thank them for their time, and send a follow-up. Really important to say thank you. LinkedIn is basically a social media platform at the end of the day, so you can't really limit the other social platforms out of the equation. So, you know, you can use X and Instagram, but every industry is going to be unique there. So you can start building your network on LinkedIn by inviting people you already know to connect. So classmates, I'm sure you have GroupMes for all your classes. Throw your LinkedIn link in there, and I promise people will send you a connection request. Post content related to the industry you're interested in, engage with other people on their posts, and make sure you're adding relevant professional content. I mentioned Mason Mentors, so you can scan that QR code there to join, but I'm also going to drop this link in the chat along with the other ones I've already put in there, just to make it easier for you there. But highly recommend signing up for this. So you have the link. You can also scan that QR code. Oh, and before I forget, I mentioned we have industry-specific networking groups on Mason Mentors. We also have a new international student group on Mason Mentors. So that's also going to be a great resource to have as well. Got more QR codes for you. We just launched our own social pages, so make sure that you scan those as well and make sure that you are following us. And this is how you can connect with us as well. If you'd like to book a one-on-one appointment, join drop-in hours, we are here to help you specifically for being in the Costello College of Business. So, you know, take advantage of this resource you have. And that about wraps up our PowerPoint workshop portion of this evening.
All right.
Thank you, Madison. Thank you, Kelly. It was like very insightful presentation, both on the networking side and also the job search side. Take my word, as an international student. So if I find it insightful, I think everybody did. So at next, we're going to go ahead with the panel discussion part of our meeting. And we have three very resourceful people with us today. And they're going to discuss about their experiences, share their success stories and challenges in seeking employment in the United States. Let me just quickly introduce them to you. Firstly, we have George, who did MSM with us here at the Costello College of Business and is currently working as an engineer in CMTA. Good evening, George.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Do you guys see a video or?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. Hey, good evening. Thank you for introducing me and thank you for having me here. Would you like me to introduce myself now or is it later on?
Sure. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So nice to see you all. Madison, nice to see you again. Everybody else, also nice to see you again. And I'm very happy to be here. My name is George Barakat. I'm from Lebanon originally. I came to the United States about 2 years ago, approximately, maybe a couple months shy of 2 years. I did my master's in management at Mason with the MSN program. So like a year ago, I was in you guys' place. I was having all the different doubts in my mind, so different problems that we needed to solve, looking for jobs, venturing through this vast job market. And I know how challenging it could be. So that's why when you guys told me that this opportunity for workshops available and you asked me if I would like to be here, I jumped in and I said, of course, I would like to help international students because I understand the struggle. And to continue talking about myself more, I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I did it back home, not here in Lebanon. And I continued my master's here at Mason. Currently, I'm working with a company called CMTA as a consulting engineer. The company is a performance contracting company. It's highly STEM, highly engineering, not much business going on, but definitely the business concepts and the finance concepts that I learned during my stay at Mason were very helpful. Yeah, and that's pretty much a brief introduction about myself. Thank you.
Thank you, George. So joining George, we have Rupeng, who did his Bachelor's of Science and majored in like finance and marketing and is currently working as Insights Lead from ComScore. Hi, Rupeng, welcome.
I'm Rupeng. Let me know if you can see me. Oh, there we go. So Rupeng, I graduated from Mason in 2015 with a degree in marketing and finance. I work at ComScore, which, if you don't know ComScore, which most people tend not to, unless you're in the marketing research field. Our company overall does a lot of marketing research, TV research, online activities, things like that. So every week, if you hear about, movies, international box office, US movie box offices, that's done by my company. I specifically works within what we call our custom solutions team. Essentially, we are providing consulting services to a lot of the different companies. I specifically work in our financial services team. So I work with a lot of the consumer banks in the US, helping them to optimize their overall digital strategy online and better, your customer engagement overall. So if you have any, US bank accounts, likely I have a client there. So if you have any complaints, let me know. I can pass it along.
Sure, I think our chat is going to be filled up with them. And lastly, we have our in-house immigration specialist and internal advisor from OIPS. Hi, Sang. Sang is here.
Hello. Yep, I'm here. New to this Blackboard collab. But yeah, very glad to be here. Some of the familiar faces I'm seeing. It's very good to see you guys. I'm just here to shed insight into any questions related to CPT or OPT. I am there in person on Mondays in Arlington. So for those of you who are interested in meeting in person, please call the OIPS and let them know that you want to meet in person instead of through Teams or Zoom. I'm happy to help. Also, it's really nice to see some of the names that I've been working with through emails, like Caleb, and nice to finally see them and be able to talk to them here. So excited to see what questions are coming in. And again, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So to start the discussion, I will start off ask some questions, the ones that basically run very frequently in mind of any international student who's currently doing a job search. And then later we're going to have a Q&A where all the students can put in your questions either in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Okay, so I am starting off with George and Rupeng, both of you can share your experience here. So if you could just share in short the journey from of you being an international student to landing your current job or first job, and what were some of the challenges that you actually faced along the way?
I can get started.
Yes.
I mean, I think the challenges are just the same as the things that you guys will be experiencing, if not tougher right now. Overall, you guys probably will experience the job market is not as friendly, both from an economic perspective and on top of that, from a visa sponsorship perspective. Things are certainly a lot harder, but that's not to say, there are no resources out there. So what Kelly shared earlier, what Madison mentioned as well, those are great resources to check out. I will say for myself, one thing I did is every summer I made sure I had an internship lined up. So again, you want to gain that firsthand experience to try to figure out what kind of job you want to pursue later on. And I mentioned this to Kelly last week. Essentially, one thing to keep in mind is that, and this is one thing I wish Mason, got taught, the students better in, is you want to start your career search process as early as possible. It's particularly true for international students. I have so many, friends who are American and they're having tough times finding a job right now. So, think about that as an international student. It's only going to get tougher because, for Americans who don't need sponsorship, it's already tough. So you need to prepare a lot earlier in terms of, getting that resume ready, getting that elevator pitch ready. So again, I always had an updated resume. So if, I'm not working with someone, whoever needs it, I can send them my resume right away. And on top of that, I always have a story prepared, right? Say if someone asks you, tell me a little about yourself. You want to be able to answer that question right away versus, having, scatter answers here and there. Prep that story on your own time. So that's what I would say, in terms of getting yourself ready, but more so as to, use all the different platforms that are available. Find those jobs. I know it's definitely tough out there. I have spoken to a lot of the international students. Some are from Mason, some are not. A lot of the people have told me, even for internship, they will apply for hundreds of internships and they will not hear back. I would say, again, continue what you're doing. If you don't hear back, move on, right? Don't take it personally. It's not because if you did something that, it's not working out. There's so many applicants. I can give you an example from last year when we had an internship open, and my company hired internship, I would say relatively late into the game. We started hiring the process in April. Within 2 days, we had received 500 applicants for the jobs. We had to narrow down 500 applicants down to 80 people, essentially. So again, a lot of these things, you have to prepare your resume, get those things ready. And one thing final thing before I let George speak is, I know ChatGPT is a popular thing now. So if you are updating your resume, make sure if you're using ChatGPT, rewrite what ChatGPT says. Don't just simply copy and paste whatever ChatGPT splits out. I have gotten so many resumes that I know is from ChatGPT because if you read, 20, 30 resumes, you will start getting the same format, right? And someone even left some of the links from ChatGPT in there. So if you're using ChatGPT, which is a great resource as well, just make sure that you're writing it to your own words, so you know what they're talking about. But I'll pass on to George.
Yeah, thank you, Rupang. I think you touched on a lot of the topics or the points that I wanted to discuss and inform all the people attending here about, especially the students that are currently searching for jobs. It's a tough market. There's a lot of competition. We can, write a whole newspaper about how tough it is and how challenging it is, and we know that, and you're absolutely right. But there's nothing is impossible. You guys can be very lucky if you do the right thing. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. Just like Rupang said, stay prepared, keep your resume updated, stay involved. Networking is very important, super important. When I was a graduate student and when I was an undergraduate student, I would hear how my professors and like different faculty members would say networking, and I didn't quite appreciate it until I actually got a job from networking. So just go as much as you can to career fairs. If the George Mason or the MSN program is organizing a workshop of any kind where they have some kind of speakers or some industry leaders or people that are currently working, that could be your access point for a job or for an internship. Utilize that. It's an hour or two of your time is not going to be very harmful, but at the same time it could be very beneficial. So update your resume, keep it updated. LinkedIn, Indeed, all these different professional networking websites or platforms. Make sure you're on them and you're active on them. Get good grades, of course. It's very important. And one other thing also I would like to say is that I am very lucky, and also you guys are, as students, I'm addressing the students here, you are very lucky that you are in the Arlington campus, and more specifically at George Mason Arlington campus, because you have a lot of good resources like Sang, Kelly, Caleb, Madison, which was my classmate a year ago. Like, those are people that are very welcoming, very helpful. They want to see you succeed. They want to. They will answer your questions. Don't feel shy. Reach out to them. And also, please reach out to me as well. I already talked to Madison, and I told her my number and my email are available, and anyone can talk to me if there's anything I can help. I'll be more than happy to do. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that question. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very kind. We are going to I'm sure you'll get bombarded with a lot of questions. We will share your details. You actually mentioned that, there was this, you did land your job through networking, right? Could you just tell us in detail, where was that thing when it clicked? Because networking is you keep doing it in a hope, and then there's one point where it clicks, you put in a lot of effort and something clicks, right? We want to hear that success story.
Yeah, of course. So what happened to me is that as you guys know, the MSN program has the internship, where the internship course. I forgot the actual technical name for the course, but it's basically where a student is required to do an internship. So I was looking through Indeed and LinkedIn and my personal resources to see which company would be able to or would be willing to provide me an internship, because it's really hard for us international students, since a company that provides you an internship this would be a source of them invest. It would be a source of early investment in you for potential full-time hiring. So that was a challenge, but fortunately I met my current full-time employer, CMTA, and at a career fair at George Mason, and I provided them my resume. And obviously, since I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, which is a STEM major, and I have some work experience, they offered me an internship. And this is a great example of how networking could help you. Now, I'm not painting a very. I cannot show. What I mean to say is that sometimes this does not happen, and you gotta go to multiple career fairs and multiple workshops in order to get something, and sometimes you might not get anything. I have a job to be realistic with you guys and not just paint a beautiful picture, but you just gotta do what you gotta do and be consistent. And from my internship, I got the full-time job. So this is how it happened to me.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelly, for putting that up. And Rupeng, you mentioned elevator pitch, right? That was something that caught my eye. So can you throw some light on how to make your elevator pitch? What did you have in your elevator pitch? And as an international student, did you have to add something more to it to elevate your elevator pitch more?
So I would say keep your elevator pitch short, right? Nobody want to hear a 15-minute speech. Most I do presentation for a living in my job, right? I present a lot to senior executives. I can tell you, regardless who you're presenting to, you will lose their attention within a minute if you don't have anything interesting to say. So make sure that you're telling something interesting about yourself. So I'll give you my elevator pitch. I always start with, "Hi, I'm Rupeng. When I was looking at a job back then when I was Mason, I always tell people, "Hi, I have where I'll be getting a degree in finance and marketing." And I would tell people, what I would love to do, right? I have a huge dream back then, and this is still kind of an aspiration of mine. I wanted to have my own airline, and it's something that will be a really interesting pitch, right? That gets people's attention. People will always ask me, "So why do you want to have an airline?" As a very natural follow-up question. So you want to create opportunity to use that conversation, turn that into, from the elevator pitch, I would say, turn that into a conversation, right? Again, this takes a lot of practice. You're not going to have it, immediately. Some of you might, not to say never, but again, this takes a lot of time to practice. Practice with yourself, practice with your friends, right? I think not only practicing your elevator pitch, but try to give each other practice interviews. Again, I don't know if there's any practice interview questions on the career services site, but if not, you can always Google, right? There are typical questions usually goes, tell me about yourself, tell me your experience here and there, right? Tell me when you have navigated through a difficult conflict, tell me a personal challenge, tell me your, what you're great at and some of the shortcomings, right? Again, I don't know if any of your professor has said this. When it comes to questions like this, right, you want to honestly answer them, right? But at the same time, you don't want to go into like, I am horrible at managing time, right? You don't want to be too honest, because again, if you say that, guarantee you to lose their interest. You want to say something that highlights your negative, points as a positive, right? You can say, sometimes I have a lot of things on my plate, right? I would, try to focus on multiple things at the same time. And this is how I prioritize each of the things, right? Turn that something negative into a positive. But elevator pitch, I think, is really crucial in terms of getting you ready. But again, more crucial than that is how elevator pitch will be a really optimal stage, right, to reach. Because once you get there, basically means you're getting almost like an informational interview. And that's one thing I did that's slightly different. When I got into the job search, when I started looking at jobs, I really talked to a lot of different people at different companies. I utilized a lot of my network. I have a twin sister, so I also use her network as well, right? I talked to a lot of her friends, my friends who are already working, people who have graduated already, asked them, the company they are working at, how do they feel, finding out a culture, what's the culture like at their company. I think that's also really important. If you want to stay in the DC area, there's so many companies here, but I would say, look at a specific field that you want to be in, and then from there, set a list of company names, right? But again, be realistic, a lot of the company have hiring, they only hire from target schools. So again, Mason and any other school that's not a target school, you have a very low chance of getting in. But at the same time, you want to do a lot of the research to see which companies are here in the DC area in the field I want to be in, right? This way, instead of just blindly looking at LinkedIn, which again can have millions of jobs, as you just heard earlier, right? You want to narrow that down from the million to, in the haystack, right? You want to be as ready as possible. So when it comes to networking, you know who you want to reach out and what type of roles you want. And again, you can get a lot of that information by talking to people, finding out about what they do. If it's not something that you seem to be interested in, even for visa, don't do it. Move on to something you will like. The other thing that's more so related to international students is if you're graduating this semester, get your OPT paperwork in ready, right? If I remember correctly, was it 3 months or 2 months? You had to get that ready, and processing time with the immigration USCIS is really long, right? And just in case you get RFE for your application, you want to have ample time to prep for the start time of your OPT time. Similarly speaking, if you're doing CPT, you also want to get ready, right? Get that paperwork ready. I mean, thank God there's a person to sign the paperwork now, because I remember back then when I was in Mason, I had to run all around the campus to find whoever can sign my CPT paper. But now with a dedicated resource, that's definitely a lot easier. But again, if you're graduating, definitely get your resume ready. Definitely get that paperwork in so you can start on the right time. But if you're saying not graduating yet, you have more time. Again, do the similar things. Prep for possible interviews coming up, apply for internships, but also prepare for when it comes to the fall semester. I can tell you most of the larger companies tend to hire for interns in the fall semester than say for now. So again, prep for both, possible internships that are coming up now, and on top of that, look for internship that might be coming up later on as well. So, if you're prepping for the fall semester, think about it. You have 5 months to get a good story ready, a great resume updated, and just go find the target company that you want to work for.
Yes. Thanks, Rupeng. Lucky for us, we do have like an immigration expert like Sang with us today. My next question was actually directed to him regarding the timelines. Sang, if you could like just tell us a little bit about like the steps that are involved in applying for OPT and CPT, and what are the timelines and limitations associated to both of them.
Absolutely. So I'll start with CPT and then move on to OPT if that's okay. So
Yes.
for CPT, the processing time is usually short, 2-3 weeks max, sometimes 4 weeks depending on people that are signing the form, if they're just sitting in their inbox, right? Because it's shorter because it only involves OIPS and OIPS sits on the Mason. So if you have business 492 that you got to take, and that's part of your graduation requirement, make sure you sign up for the class. Of course, you need to have a job offer ready, right? And then you'll visit OIPS. You can make a one-on-one appointment with us, or you can visit our virtual walk-in hours on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And we are happy to review your application and also your offer letter, and we can have you move on to the next phase. So I understand that the School of Business has their own set of teams that you got to work with in terms of registrations and things like that, but eventually you will also work with OIPS to get your CPT I-20. Moving on to OPT, you'll be working with OIPS to gather your documents for the OPT, but you're ultimately working with USCIS, like Rupeng has mentioned, who's taking their sweet time to approve their OPTs. So the current wait times, processing times, is about 2 to 3 months. I do get a lot of students saying that they got it approved around 11 weeks, so a little bit over 2 weeks, 2 months. So we'll see. I mean, it's very random. I think George was one of the unlucky ones where it took a lot more than 2 months, and there's no heads up from USCIS. It's gonna take a long time. So your window for OPT opens 90 days before your program end date on your I-20. So you can check your current I-20 and see when the end date is there, and you can count 90 days prior to that date. And for most of you that are graduating in July, your window is already open, I believe. So you can definitely look into. I'll drop the links, but you can definitely look into some of the steps to apply for OPT. Again, you will work with you will work with OIPS with your documents, but you will eventually submit your documents through the USCIS portal. Yeah.
And George, saying for the OPT, is it still the same that you have to take the course beforehand, right?
Yes. So there is something called OPT workshop, and there are so many little details that you can't miss, including the windows, and you got to set your own start date and things like that. So you would actually do that through the OPT workshop. And again, I'll share this link briefly in a moment, but you would work through the steps that are outlined there under optional practical training, and OPT workshop is definitely a step that you got to complete before moving on to the next step.
I would say start that process as early as possible. Even if you're within the 90 days, get that ready, or even if you're not within the 90 days, right? Once you have all the documents necessary, once you hit that 90 days, you can submit your application right away and get that process going, just because how long it takes from government to process everything.
Yeah.
For the international students, there's a time, right? Like the time before which timeline before which they're supposed to get a job after they get their OPT. Uh,
Yes, yes, that's another important component. So
mm,
the big difference between CPT and OPT is that you have to have a job offer letter to start your CPT process. But for OPT, you're actually given 90 days of unemployment that comes with the OPT benefit, which means that you don't have to have a job offer in hand before you are applying for OPT. So there's no reason for not to apply for OPT if you're an international student. And while you're searching, again, you get 90 days, about 3 months of unemployment days. They're built in with the OPT benefit for you, which will give you enough time to find work. And there are different ways to stop this unemployment clock. It doesn't have to be a paid job. You can volunteer for a job related to your major, and that can also stop the unemployment clock while you actively keep searching for a paid opportunity. And we can go into more details if you make one-on-one appointments or if you come to virtual walk-ins with YPS.
yes. And this is for the students. I know we're like we just have 3 more minutes. But if you guys have any questions, like feel free to put them up in the chat and we will answer like a couple of them.
Sorry, do you mind if can I say something very quick?
Yes, please, of course.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. Like as an additional tip for the international students hearing this, I emphasized on networking, right? So one way that you can network, which is a creative way to do it, is look for communities of the countries that you came from, like, and because those people, you can, people that come from the same place tend to help each other more than people you don't know. That's just a fact. And just look for communities. Like if you come, let's say, for example, I come from the Middle East. Look for communities. Go to religious events. Go to cultural events. Go to restaurants. Go to I don't know, whatever they make, whatever kind of event that's going on that that certain people are going to be there. Do it, because you don't know who you're gonna meet, and just even before talking to these people, there's gonna be a sense of family there between you and those people. So just utilize that and leverage this thing. And I hope you guys are successful in anything you do, really, truly. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds like a solid piece of advice. Go to the potluck and get a networking and like probably a job. Let's see. Take the biryani, get a job. And I think we have a question in the chat. This is for Sang. I'm on a H4 dependent visa with my dad. What is my pathway to finding employment and acquiring internships and work experience?
Yeah, Mahi, that's a great question. And we do have quite a number of H4 students. So the CPTs and OPTs are benefits for F students. So in order for you to be eligible for all these benefits that we're talking about, you're going to have to do something called change of status. We call it COS, change of status from H to F1. And there are two ways to do it. One is to travel back home to receive the F1 stamp on your passport. The other way is to do it here in the US, and you will have to work with an immigration attorney to work on your COS from H4 to F1. Once the COS is completed, then you will be eligible for CPTs and OPT benefits.
One thing I just want to kind of piggyback on, Mahi, is if you're looking to build your resume, remember that resumes don't just require work experience. So get involved on campus, join relevant organizations, take leadership positions on campus, volunteer. All of these things can help build up your resume and your skill sets. That way, when you do eventually get the ability to work off campus or obtain a position through something like changing your visa status, your resume is ready to go and you actually have some experience to put on there.
So I have friends who are on H4 I think H4, you're on a slightly different path for sure, but there are some benefits to it, right? You don't have to worry about finding a job immediately. You can find a job as you go along. And honestly, that might be easier for you in some ways, because if you find the right job and if you ask if they can sponsor your H1B right away, right, that can be another path. Again, you don't have to worry about losing a job, say, while you're doing your OPT or doing your CPT as well. But I think, I mean, there are definitely some benefits, but again, the process will be the same: getting everything ready, apply, right, finding the company you want to apply to, and start applying. Overall, for both, regardless of you're international or not, right, what do you have to lose? Nothing, right? Keep on applying out there, keep on networking, sending out those cold emails. If you don't get a response from people, move on to the next person, right? Getting that process started is basically half the way into the door already. There's so many people who are stuck in the middle saying, hey, I'll try to draft an email, I'll send it later, when it's perfect. You don't have to wait for that, right? If you think it's a good enough of an email to send to a person as a cold networking email, send it, right? The action to actually do it is more important than all the preparation that you're going to take.
True. Yeah. It's been a very quick half an hour. Like I can chat with you guys like for an hour more if we could. But thank you so much, all of you, for like taking out time from your busy schedules and meeting with us today. It's been genuinely very insightful, and like also it did like bring up the morale a little bit, at least for me, because it's nice to always know there are somebody out there who were in the same shoes as we were and like did make it through and are there for us, like if we do need to like just ping and say, hey, what do I do about this? Thank you so much. Kelly, do you want to add any like last words?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody and our panelists especially for dedicating their time at 6 p.m. Thursday night. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed it, we might invite you back. Hint, hint, hint. But I really appreciate everybody's attendance and their great questions. And I hope this was helpful. Remember to join that Mason Mentors group for international students, because it does have not just the resources that we went over this evening, but additional ones. And it was created by Hamaja herself. So it does have some really fabulous, relevant resources on there. And other than that, I just want to close out. Thanks so much for everybody joining us tonight, and have a great weekend since we're heading into that.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us, everyone, and nice to see some of the faces we haven't seen for so long.